Well, you have this first album. The song wins a Grammy. It goes platinum. It's, you're solidified as a hip hop star. But then you left your label, Delicious Vinyl, because of problems with the label, which many artists go through. What exactly happened? And how many what type of album deal did you sign? How many albums did you owe them?
I forget how many albums I promised. I think the fact that it was any contract in California at the time was basically 7 years. That you couldn't really go much beyond that. So however many albums I was going to be due to give them in 7 years, and the process of making the first album took 2. So I got signed in September of '87, and we're going well into 1990.
Yeah.
Before we're even thinking about potentially of a second album, and then we're in litigation.
Okay, why'd you leave?
I left because I didn't get paid. I left because it just wasn't, it wasn't right, and yeah, it just basically was that. I mean, not only the deal I signed, but just all the stuff. It wasn't right for me to stay, and it wouldn't make sense for me to turn around and say, okay, I'm going to make a second record when I'm still waiting on royalties from the first record that much after. Now, having said that, once again, that example I gave of the distributor having to pay the independent label, having to pay the production company, and then having to pay the artist, it's a long wait. But at that point, it's like, I know I've been out here doing all this legwork. Where's the dough? And then, of course, lawyers and managers and everybody wants to step up and say, we'll take on this fight. And that's what it is.
Well, the label sued you for breach of contract.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, it was settled out of court.
Yeah.
What was it settled for?
I'm not going to get into that, dude. Come on.
Well,
It was settled for me getting a nice deal from Capitol, and them and Delicious not having, they didn't get points off of any of my future records or whatever. It was just...
So Capitol bought out your deal from Delicious Vinyl, essentially.
I mean, I don't know what they paid Delicious. I know what they paid me.
Okay. Well, because look, with Delicious Vinyl, you got this guy that not only has a huge hit, but also wrote 2 huge hits also. I wouldn't want to let Young MC go. Why not just, okay, I know you're unhappy. Here's the money that's coming. How about we just advance you some money, knowing that it's coming anyways, make you happy. Let's do another album and have it, have some more hits. Was there never a conversation like that?
It was too acrimonious for that.
Huh.
And too much time. Literally, we're talking, I got signed in '87. Bust a Move comes out in '89. We're well into 1990. We're in the fall of 1990 when the lawsuit is going on, right? So much time has passed. They know what they have paid me and haven't paid me, but I'm making money on the road. I got my Pepsi commercial. Even my publishing deal, I signed an outside publishing deal to do 10 songs with Almo Irving, right? So this is when I haven't gotten my royalties from Delicious yet. Almo Irving offers me $100,000 for 10 songs, which is a ton of money. 10 grand a song as a writer. This is not artist royalty. Just as a writer, we're going to assume that each song that you write for us is 10 grand a song. All of a sudden, I get an offer from Varia White for 150 grand for the same deal. I'm like, oh, you have money for that, but you have money to pay me? I took the 100. Yeah. Left the 50 on the table. That's where I was.
Okay, so now you get signed to Capitol Records and you put out your second album, Brainstorm.
Mm-hmm.
Peaks at number 66 on the Billboard 200. And it goes gold, but there's no big singles on it. How did that feel to go from all this craziness and huge song and so forth to, okay, a gold record is nothing to sneeze at, but you're not having any songs that are reacting at this point?
Well, I always looked at it, watching Tone blow up, right? And at this point, by the time I'm making my second record, Tone should be well into his second record, and I'm not hearing much about that going on. So I'm watching Tone's journey as well. But watching him, knowing how I felt when I was just the writer on those songs, and then seeing how massive my records were and the Grammy and the whole bit, I always looked at it as a lottery win. A lot of people get into this and say, okay, I have a platinum record, I'm win a Grammy Award, and every record's gonna be like that. I knew it wasn't like that. Tona sold more records than me, and I have the Grammy and he didn't. To me, there was some part of that didn't necessarily seem fair or didn't seem equitable. But if I'm gonna be looking at things like that, I believe I won my Grammy before Luther Vandross won a Grammy. I think it was that. So if I have factoids like that, I'm not gonna sit there and say, well, my second record needs to go multi-platinum. I need to have as big of a single. You know, I said, okay, let me do my best to try and make better music. Let me do my best to see what I can do to make an impact with people. But I wasn't really caught up in it like, oh man, you know, they don't like me anymore. I wasn't really caught up in that. I was happy to have a second album and happy to have what I had in my, you know, in my back pocket already.
Well, right around this time, Michael Jackson reaches out. And he wants you to rap on one of his songs. Right?
Yeah.
And your manager gets involved in this conversation.
Yes.
How did that go?
Well, I'm hearing all this hindsight. And this is around the time when he had done, I don't think it was the exact record that Michael Jackson had done with Heavy D, but it's the time when he's doing guest appearances with rappers. And I heard there was interest. But then I heard that my manager had asked for an advance.
Do you know how much?
I have no idea. I just heard that was the response that went out from my team, and that nothing had come back. That was basically, and my thing was, if I was approached, I'd say, no, I do a Michael Jackson, you know, I do a Michael Jackson guest spot for free.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, you can see both sides of it.
Oh, no, for sure.
Because,
no.
for example,
whatever my manager asked for, I deserved.
Yeah.
Now, and he may have looked at it like, well, Marvin deserves to get paid on it, so I'm gonna go get him the money. Me, I'm like, I'll do a Michael Jackson record because I'll get 10 features and get 10 times whatever you're asking from those 10 features just because I've done something with Michael Jackson. And that went well.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, Michael Jackson, the Thriller album music video cost like $1.7 million to put together, which is the equivalent of like $2.5 million today. His budgets were insane. He had blank checks from Sony. Right. Do whatever you want. You got to understand, back then, I mean, to do a music video like Thriller, where you have
Vincent Price,
Vincent Price, and who's the director? Was it Scorsese?
Wasn't it John something? John?
No, Scorsese did something else. I think Scorsese did Bad.
You need to type that in.
Yeah,
Thriller. It was.
John Landis.
There you go, John Landis,
who was a huge director,
a massive director.
So I understand from the business point of view. Well, look. They definitely have the money. So let's ask for some money because this is a commercially successful rapper. So it makes sense to ask for money. But on the flip side, you don't get too many calls from Michael Jackson. If Michael Jackson calls, whatever. If y'all want to pay me, not pay me, who cares? It's Michael Jackson. It's part of history. The greatest entertainer of all time is what they called him after he passed.
Absolutely.
And it's true.
Ironically, Vlad, that's part of the reason when your people reached out, I didn't call you asking you for money. Because I lived through that. You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, you said that you stopped using managers after that.
That's essentially, well, the idea, and I've heard 50 Cent make reference to this, you get to a certain point, a manager helps you establish stuff. A manager helps you open the doors, get the deals, meet the agents, start your career, get those things going. And then after that, anything that they bring additionally is something worth, commissioning. But if I was to take on a manager right now at the rates that are going, even in my weakest years, that person would be making anywhere between $40,000 and $70,000 without doing a thing and not offering me anything new.
Yeah.
Just from the commission, they're going to be getting that. So why bring them on? What I do is the people that have connections and the people that bring me deals, I commission them on those deals and make sure they get taken care of. And that's it. I'm about to get in a situation where I have some people doing more day-to-day stuff for me, but it's not going to be on a commission basis because
you pay them.
Yeah, because I've done everything I can to keep my business where it is now, to not sell my publishing off, to get the show money that I get. So there's no reason really to involve anybody else in the stuff I have existing, but new stuff I'm always open to, and that way I can kind of control what I'm doing.
Well, your third album comes out. What's the flavor? and Ali Shaheed Muhammad from A Tribe Called Quest, he co-produced it.
Yes,
And look, A Tribe Called Quest was hot to death.
absolutely.
Was that Midnight Marauders era?
I want to say yeah, because Check the Rhyme had well been out, and I
Yeah.
want to say Low End Theory, and that had already been out. So it was in that time. I did a couple of things with Ali Shaheed, and then a lot of tracks with a protege of his named Beetle, and I learned a lot about East Coast production. Learned a lot about album creation and dressing a track and all that stuff. Having said that, in hindsight, there was such a push because gangster rap had been really taking over, and I had been comfortable, in and around gangster artists from dealing with NWA. But the thought process was that it was such a big phenomenon that I needed to be harder. I had to wear the fatigues, all that other stuff. That's the album, the What's the Flavor album, that I feel I was furthest away from being myself. And that was the last major label album that I did.
Right. This album did not do very well. Didn't have any singles that blew up. Your least performing album. And then did Capitol Records drop you after that?
I don't know about Capitol dropping. I think that was the end. I mean, I didn't have any other options after that. It was kind of after the first record we had adjusted the contract, and the second record I still got a major advance, and we went about it. I said I wanted to work with Tribe Called Quest. We did. The album did what it did, and then we just kind of went on after that. Went on our own separate ways.
Well, a couple years later, Eazy-E dies of AIDS. As someone that knew him, were you shocked when you heard the news?
It was heartbreaking. It was, shocking, of course, but heartbreaking because Eazy was a friend. Eazy was someone that I felt like I grew up with in the music business, watching West Coast hip hop grow, and you just don't like it. Even to this day, I'm experiencing it more, where I have people that I've worked with and friends of mine die in this business. So it was tough. It was tough to hear, and I felt for his family and the people around him and all the people that he had helped and influenced. Yeah, it was a tough thing.